Welcome to the Patriots Report, part of the Believe Network presented by FanDuel. My name is Christopher Price of the Boston Globe and bostonglobe.com, joined as always by my podcast partner and two-time Super Bowl champion, Chris Hogan. Chris, we got a lot to talk about, man.
We're back. I thought we were going to get a couple weeks off, but we started this for you. I'm happy because I'm ready. I'm ready for New England. I'm ready for Robert Kraft. I'm ready for Elliott. I'm ready for Mike to just make this giant effing splash in free agency and be like, yeah, the New England Patriots are not screwing around anymore. We're bringing in guys. We got the right recipe here to win football games and try to win championships. So let's start dealing. Let's make some moves here.
All right, I love it. Well, let's get to the first topic that we have to discuss today. It came down. We're actually recording on Thursday morning, March 5th. It came down yesterday afternoon. The Patriots decided to part ways before the start of the new league year with Stefon Diggs. Yeah. And I think that we can look at this from two ways. First of all, from an on-field production standpoint, he was their number one guy last year, the closest thing they had to a number one receiver, led the team in yards and receptions, and was an unquestioned leader in that locker room and that receiver room. I'm curious, from an on-field perspective and an off-field perspective, what are some of your early thoughts when it comes to the decision to move on from Diggs?
I mean, listen, I'll say this first and foremost. I think that Stefon surpassed everything that anyone thought that he was going to be this year. I think from a physical standpoint, from an emotional standpoint, from his leadership skills, from how he stepped up in this locker room to how much he was respected by, I think, the coaches and the peers. And there's a lot that happens behind closed doors, and I know that we kind of look at this from afar, right? But from afar and the outside, and from anyone looking in at this team, I think that you could say that Stefon was a pretty crucial part and very important in this team's process, right? And how they were able to kind of have this young team and young quarterback and new head coach, and Josh coming in, and he was very receptive to clearly being coached, and he was never an issue throughout the year. He had things going on off the field, but it didn't seem like he ever carried that into the building. So I honestly, he seemed like he had turned a corner, like professionally as a professional football player. So I'm a little sad to see him go, man. I think this was a good spot for him. I think that he had the support of the organization, and listen, maybe this is it's at the end of the day, it's also a business. And I think that receiver is going to be a position where we try to improve on. I think just across the board, Steph was a great player. I think that we have some players in that room right now that have the ability to grow into what Steph can do. Now, never going to take away from what Stefon Diggs as a football player. Like, he is all time and great, and came off an injury this year and was very successful. But, you have Kyle, right? Who is, I think, going to be a very good player, electric. The ceiling is very high for him and his overall ability. You have Kayshawn, you have, who knows what we do with Pop and those guys. So there's some pieces there, but we could level up in that number one receiver category.
Yeah.
Sure. Does the off the field stuff kind of play into it? Maybe they know something we don't know, that this might be a little bit more of an issue for him kind of later down the line. Something that maybe they just want to try to avoid. I think that if that meeting was anything other than Steph, I couldn't be more thankful for how you handled yourself this year and what you did for this team and this organization, and how well you played and performed coming off an ACL all throughout the year, and you were available and all these things. So I'd be surprised if that conversation wasn't trending in that direction. I think we'll obviously, maybe something will come out if there was something more to it, but it didn't seem like it was a bad breakup, right? It didn't
Yeah.
seem like Steph opened the door for this or did something or said something. Like, I think maybe we can call what it is. This is a business decision, right? We're clearing some cap room. We're making some more space for us to go out there and land a huge, some bigger free agents to, maybe there's some more money to be dealt around and traded and done with during the draft process. So I think that there's some moves here, right? Some moving parts to these decisions that are made, especially when the number one receiver gets let go. But for me, I wish Steph nothing but the best. I hope that he lands on another team and he's able to continue the professionalism and the level that he was at this year. I think any team would be very lucky to have him if he continues down this road. I hope that all the off the field stuff kind of cleans itself up and he's able to clear his head of all that kind of stuff, because I'm sure that was weighing on him. It has to be, right? I mean, that stuff is not easy to deal with. So, Steph was a great player, man. I think you would probably say the same thing. I think a lot of people would say that. So,
yeah.
But this is a business, so it kind of puts the pressure on New England now, right? We got rid of our top performer. So, all right. So now, all right, Elliot, like, what are we doing now? Right? Like, we got to go out. We can't go into the draft and draft the number one receiver in the first round. I'm not interested in that. Right? Like, the kids that come in are able to produce like that. It doesn't happen very often. This is not going to be a draft thing. I think it's going to be a free agency thing. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Especially at the end of the first round where they are. I'm not saying that they won't trade up, but you're not going to get, or chances are you're not going to get game-changing wide receiver on the level of Diggs when you're picking at number 31. There are some really intriguing guys we could talk about down the road. Casey Concepcion from Texas A&M, Omar Cooper from Indiana. These guys are not number one wide receivers as is currently constituted. I think you bring up the point that I always come back to. I'm not saying that the all-field stuff maybe didn't play into it, wasn't part of the conversation, but at the same time, this is a wide receiver who's going to be 33, and they didn't want to spend $26.5 million on him next year. Yeah. I think that's the absolute bottom line. In the NFL, for me, it always comes back to money, and they would have loved to have had him back, but not at that rate. And so both sides shook hands. There were adults about it by all accounts and said, look, good luck down the road. I think this puts pressure, like you said, a little bit of pressure on the Patriots because they need to replace the production and the leadership. And then it's Diggs betting on himself that he can go out and get some sort of commensurate deal in the free agent market from another team. So it's going to be fascinating to see how the rest of this plays out down the road for both the team and the player. I'm curious, the two names that keep coming up here as potential replacements, I'll put up my quote fingers here when I say replacements, are A.J. Brown, a trade for A.J. Brown, Philadelphia, first round pick and maybe a second or a third, and you get one of Mike Vrabel's favorite wide receivers from their time together in Tennessee. The other name is Alec Pierce. And I'm curious if you think either one of those guys are on the same level as Diggs, can bring the same level. Look, I don't want to get too much into the weeds here, but just from a pure production level.
Let's get into the weeds.
One of those two guys. Okay, let's get into the weeds. Let's get into the weeds,
man.
Give me your thoughts on those two guys.
All right, let's talk about Alec Pierce first. He's not
a little bit of Hogan, a little bit of Chris Hogan in his game.
Yeah, he's not one dimensional, but he's a big play guy, right? I think that does benefit us at the right price. So, I'm not, Josh's offense is not built around throwing the ball deep. Like, I don't really care about, Keyshawn made a lot of plays down the field. Mac Hollins averaged over whatever his yards per catch was this year. Like, we have a couple of those guys that are built into this offense already to be able to show up and make big plays down the field. I think Alec Pierce is a very good, I think I've watched him. I think he's a very good receiver, contested catches, dude can take, he can fly, like all of these things. but is that going to change the landscape of this offense, right? I don't know if A.J. Brown is necessarily that either, right? Like, I need a guy like Stefon who is able to. This is Josh McDaniels' offense we're talking about. Like, I need a guy that's going to be able to run juke routes, right? I need a guy that's going to be able to get open in the middle of the field, that can run the route tree of routes, right? Just like extensive option routes, multiple combination routes, be able to digest things on the fly, to get open versus man covers, to get open in the middle field, to get open versus slot, that's smart, that's able to understand the offense, play multiple different positions. Like, can A.J. Brown be that guy? Like, I don't know. I mean, he's kind of been an outside guy for his most of his career, and also he hasn't been very productive in the last couple of years. Like, I get it that they're like, Philly wasn't the greatest passing offense, and they went through their struggles, and that was very well documented for everyone to talk about and to see. But like, is the change of environment and team going to be the thing that puts him over the top? Like, maybe it is, right? But like, at what price, right? Like, I'm looking at stuff where Alec Pierce is going to be trying to go after $30 million a year. Like, no, I'm not paying $30 million for someone to run go routes, right? Like, if you're going to come in and you're going to be able to be multiple in this offense and be able to run the different type of routes and get open versus press and get open versus man and run slants and curls and make the contested catches across the middle of the field, like, not just over routes and deep routes and posts. Like, kid's a very talented receiver. Now, I could be totally wrong in saying this. Maybe he can do those things and he just wasn't featured in it in Indianapolis's offense. Like, that could be a thing too. Maybe they bring him in for a workout and kind of have a different perspective on what he's able to do. But, you know, it's just an interesting conversation, right? Because like, Steph was he was the intermediate guy, right? He got open. He was able to, you know, man zone read, sit down into space, you know, catch a 3-yard route and take it for, maybe he had a guy that had the ability to have, you know, some yak, and then also just take the catch and get down, right? Like, is Alec Pierce that guy? Like, I don't know. I don't think so. Like, he wasn't in Indianapolis's offense, so I don't know if he's necessarily going to want to come here and do that. Like, kid's going to want to have 45 catches for like 1,200 yards. Like, that's insane. Like, that's like he averaged? He averaged like 22 yards a catch this year.
He averaged the last 2 years. He averaged over 20 yards a catch.
Like, that's insane, right? Like, that's a very, like, the yards per catch, man. Like, that's crazy. Like, so is he opposite of Kayshawn? And now we have two guys that can, you know, really take the top off, and then Mac kind of fills in there when, you know, in need. You know, is Williams the guy, right? Like, I don't know, right? Like, Josh needs that, man. Josh needs that guy that's going to be able to run that juke route, those option routes, those, you know, 5 to 10 yard from the line of scrimmage, those routes in the middle of the field. They are a important piece to the puzzle when running Josh's offense. So who's that guy, right? I don't think Alec Pierce is that guy. And is A.J. Brown? I don't know. That's not really what he's kind of made his career off of. Like, he's an outside guy that's very physical and capable of getting, you know, running slants versus press and getting open and catching the football contested. Like, he can definitely do it. There's no question about it. But I don't know if that's exactly what we're looking for, you know? So I don't know. It's interesting, man. It really is to like look at the free agency stuff and try to make that decision. I think that they would both be productive in this offense. Let's put it that way. But are we willing to pay for that production? I think that's the overwhelming question, is like, how much are we willing to give out for this. Like that seems risky to me.
Mm-hmm.
It does. It seems risky to me where you could maybe level up a little bit at the tight end position. You could, Drake is going to continue to progress. You're going to beef up the offensive line a little bit and kind of put your money where to protect your quarterback so that, he's not, we don't see what happened in the Super Bowl. Right. And, listen, you had it I heard it for years that Tom had no offensive weapons, and yet we still went out there every single week and we're very productive. I could go on and on about that. So is that necessarily what we're after? I don't know.
Well, if they don't get Pierce or Brown and they don't make any sort of seismic changes to their offensive skill position players, is there a guy on this roster right now, or maybe two guys on this roster, who stand to benefit the most in the post-Diggs landscape? The guy who comes to mind immediately is probably Kayshon Boutte, although he's not necessarily the same type of receiver. I think if I'm Kayshon Boutte today, I'm out there learning a new route tree. If I'm Kyle Williams or Pop Douglas, I'm seeing an opportunity now where I'm going to get more targets going forward into 2026 and beyond. Again, if they don't make any sort of seismic moves, if they don't bring in Pierce, if they don't bring in A.J. Brown, is there a guy in the roster for you who just screams out, hey, look, this is the guy who should get more opportunities moving forward without Steph Diggs on the roster?
Yeah, man, I think it's the two inside guys. I think that it's Kyle and I think that it's Pop. I think it's one of those guys that's has a unique opportunity regardless of what happens in free agency and regardless of what happens in the draft. I think there's a unique opportunity for both of those guys to step into a position that gets a lot of opportunity. There's, whether they can do it or not, that's going to be a test for themselves. And they're going to have to kind of show Josh that that he can trust them, that they're going to be able to do the right things and make the right decisions. I think with a year underneath Kyle's belt and his abilities as a wide receiver, I think we just kind of scratched the surface with him last year. He didn't get a lot of opportunities. He was, he's able to get separation. He's quick. He's fast. He's able to make some plays in the open field and not just be a, possession type receiver. So I think if Kyle would probably be the guy for me, that if he's able to kind of step up and learn and if I'm Kyle Williams, I'm watching Julian Edelman, Daniel Amendola tape. I'm watching Wes Welker. I'm watching the old, Tom and the old Patriots, and I'm watching every single thing that he did, right? All those things. If you're watching one guy, just watch Jules, right? Watch Jules. How did he get open, right? All the different routes that he ran, all the pre-snap motions that he did, all the stuff that he did, right off the line of scrimmage, because Jules wasn't the fastest guy, but he just was, no one could cover him, right? Because he was very fast and aggressive, and he was quick to get into his route. He didn't waste time at the line of scrimmage. So there's a lot to learn, I think, from watching the Patriots of, the last, decade, right? Like the beginning of this decade, where those guys were at their prime, they were younger. Jules, his whole career, you could watch him and you could learn a lot from him. So, I think Kyle. I think Pop. I'm not really sure how they feel about Pop. I was disappointed, I think, this year in his not in himself. I wasn't disappointed in Pop. It just was odd to me that he was used so much in the year prior, and then Steph came in and Kyle and Kayshon obviously started to play well. He just was kind of non-existent, right? He had these flashes of games where he'd have a $120, and then next game he wouldn't even be on the field. That was a little strange to me. So he'd be the second guy. I think Kayshon has a role. I think that he has his role. He's outside. He's got to continue just working on, just being that guy that's able to kind of make those contested catches, get open versus, slants versus press, on the outside, getting those, 8, 9, 12 stop routes, be able to kind of move the chains, be successful and productive on, early downs when we're throwing the ball, like do all that kind of stuff. And then obviously when the opportunity presents itself, be able to make a big play down the field, which he did this year, right? I think that he can, if anything, he's improving on his route tree and his ability to maybe do some more things to help this offense. So I don't know. That's an interesting position, right? I think you can kind of go down the line and you can kind of be like, okay, like offensive line, like, all right, we need a left, right tackle, add some guys, tight end. All right, maybe we can. There's a couple guys out there in the draft that are very talented, athletic guys. Maybe they're a little bit bigger than Hunter, can block a little bit better in the pass game, but also like really productive when they have the ball in their hands. Like I think we're pretty set at the running back position. I think we know what we have in those two guys. So yeah, but then receiver, and you just don't know. You just don't know. You don't really know. Like, and I know everyone's like, oh, AJ Brown and Alec Pierce, like, yeah, man, those are good players. Like, I get it. They are very good players, but like, are they gonna have the production and help this team get to where they need to be, right? Because you're going to look at what is going to get offered for Pierce and the 40 catches for $30 million, like ain't it, bro? Like that's
a lot.
Like 20 yards per catch. And I get I get that. I do. And he's been the most successful in the NFL and in his yards per catch and his ability to go down the field. But like, I think you're going to want a hell of a lot more production out of a $30 million receiver, right? So again, I don't have an answer, right? I'm just kind of objectively looking at this from an outside perspective. It's just the receiver room is always kind of an interesting position. And it always, like in free agency, it always is, right? It just, just don't, I don't know. Maybe there's some sort of like blockbuster trade that we kind of come to the table with, but who's that guy?
Well, I had another thought here, and I know that Josh has been able to do this in the past, and my experience, a lot of it is because of the quarterback, and I don't really want to put all that on Drake's shoulders right now, but do we envision a scenario where they can change up the way the offense looks if they don't have that dominant number one receiver? If they're able to go out and get a game changer, say a tight end, if Kenyon Sadiq is the kind of guy who can really infuse this offense, with a jolt, can Trevion Henderson kind of become James White, basically? These guys who are all of a sudden these youngsters who are capable of kind of bringing things to the next level. I don't know if they need to be a wide receiver centric offense, if that makes sense. If they get a game changer at tight end, if they get a game changer running back, maybe Josh sees that and adjusts the offense accordingly, specifically, obviously, the passing game moving forward.
Yeah, but I mean, you could argue that that's what we were for so many years, right?
Yeah.
Like
well, part of it, like I said,
right? Yeah. You had James White, you had Bolden, you had LeGarrette. Like we had so many pieces where the wide receiver position, like we brought in, Brandon Cooks, and we brought in, guys like Josh Gordon and guys that were like very good receivers, but didn't necessarily have the production, right? Where like they had, because we did so many multiple things as an offense. So yeah, I agree with you on that. I don't think it changes the landscape of the offense. I think that that's what the offense should be, right? I think that it's something where the tight ends need to be very productive. They need to be and then the running backs need to, like Trevion, right? Like he can definitely be a James White type player, 100%, right? So like that to me is him just now adding some roles and responsibilities to what he does for that offense. Maybe it's a little bit more time spread out, in whatever personnel Josh cooks up, and that's now Trevion and Ramondre in the backfield, and Trevion split out wide. So I think that adds, and then you have two tight ends, or you have wide tight, so like there's so many different things if you're able to kind of add that, that layer into that offense. So I mean, they could totally be looking at this we could be everyone could be looking at this the wrong way and just saying, we're just going to add some good players in free agency. Maybe there's some guys out there at the wide receiver position that can, do a variety of different things and can be productive, but we're going to draft a tight end really high in the draft, and he's going to be a guy that's going to be a great pass catcher and kind of complement Hunter Henry, and then like the guys in the Kayshawn, listen, there's no perfect recipe for this stuff, and like all of these things could happen, and we could, whether we get a free agent or whether we go with AJ or Alec, and that could not work out or whatever. Like, I think that where you're hanging your hat, right, is that you have a quarterback that you want to continue to level up, right? Like, you just want him to keep getting better. So in my opinion, protect him, right? Protect him. Free agency, I think, starts at the offensive line, if you're asking me, or in the draft, right? And where can we improve up front so that our quarterback is doing the things that he's capable of doing, right? And then you're always going to, how can we improve defensively, right? Like, those things are going to make us better as a team, like offensive line and just our defensive production, right? Which was great this year. It's like, but I think, sure, let's add some more pieces to that puzzle. And then, you just got you got to hope, or not hope, but you just got to say, listen, this is what it is. Like, you guys are going to get your opportunities in the skill position. Like, make some plays. Like, let's go, So that's my opinion.
Talked about some guys on the defensive side of the ball, and we're going to get to a little combine talk here momentarily. But I got to say this, man. I mentioned this before. There's a lot of Chris Hogan in Alec Pierce's game. I'm not gonna lie. You look at Alec Pierce's 6'3", 211. According to Pro Football Reference, your playing weight was 6'1", 210.
Yeah, a little bit lighter.
He had the last 2 years yards per catch over 20.
It's crazy.
Your career high was 17.9 in 2016.
Yeah, the league, being Deshaun Jackson,
which is nothing to sniff at, or which is nothing to sneeze at, I should say. And
at 2020,
he was a high school lacrosse star. And right. Here's a quote from him from 2025. He said, "Lacrosse is the best way to prepare a wide receiver."
I couldn't agree more.
For someone who is not lacrosse ignorant, but for someone who might not have the same level as you guys, explain why lacrosse helped you when it came to separation, when it came to spacing, when it came to working as a wide receiver.
Playing lacrosse and being a receiver is literally the most transferable thing I can say as an athlete, because one is the eye-hand coordination goes hand in hand. Yes, are you catching with your hands as opposed to a stick? But yeah, sure, you're trying to catch a small little white ball that's moving at 70 to 80 miles an hour, on the field, that very fast while moving your feet. So that you can see, if you've never watched lacrosse before, you can kind of envision in your head, that makes sense as a wide receiver. And then just stay as an offensive player in lacrosse, right? It's essentially a one-on-one, right? You have the ability to be moving forwards, right? And when you're dodging against a defender, but that really is how am I going to get my first step and around this guy so that I can get my hands free and get a shot off? It's the same thing, receiver, right? What's my first step going to look like so I can get into my route so that I can separate at the top and catch a football? It's so similar. And to be honest, lacrosse was a sport that I think helped me so dramatically early on in my career, because those sort of things just came somewhat natural to me, right? I think learning how to play receiver and route running and getting open versus man, I think that took a lot of work and study and being able to kind of perfect your craft. playing in the NFL, because these guys are very good across the ball and defending. But lacrosse is a fantastic sport for, and relates so well to football. So with that being said, just give him the 30 million a year. Let's just do that.
Just write the check.
Yeah, just write the check.
Give it to him. Look,
he's a lax guy, Elliot. Like he'll be fine. He's a good guy. He's gonna do what he's asked.
He wears number 14. All we got to do is give him number 15.
Oh,
Off to the races.
I love it. Yeah, let's do it.
This is easy. This team building stuff is easy, man. Come on, just write the check. Give him number 15.
You know what? Like, listen. I mean, all these early reports are coming out about. There's always this stuff in the middle, in the beginning of free agency, where it's like, all right, this guy's gonna want this amount, and this is what it is. Like, all right, well, the market, maybe it's not going to be that, and people aren't willing to spend 30 million a year. But maybe you give the guy, Elliot's no dummy, man. There is a way to kind of structure these contracts where maybe it's just loaded up front. You get the guy here, but if it doesn't work out in year one, then you're not tied to him for the next two years, right? So maybe there's a way that you get A.J. Brown or Alec Pierce and you give them what they want, right? Or you incentivize them to a point where it's like, okay, like this makes a lot of sense for me. I think like A.J. Brown is probably a better prospect for that, just because he is tied to Mike, right? Mike likes him. Mike's going to be able to sell this team to A.J. He's been in a situation that hasn't been like great, right? There's just been, I know he comes out and he speaks well, and he doesn't say anything bad about what's been going on in Philly, but it hasn't been the best case scenario for him as a wide receiver. So I think that there's probably an easier sell to AJ, right? Where, okay, maybe like whatever the market is going to be for him, maybe we're going to try to meet his expectations, but also we can incentivize him a little bit more to come play for New England. Now, I think Alec Pierce is just different, right? Like he's 26 years old, right? He's coming off of all these years with these yards per catch, and some team might want that. Right, that might be a harder sell for us to be like, if this is what you want, like we already have this guy, like we already have, unless you're able to do all these different things in Josh's offense, but maybe you can sell him too on it. Like, hey, come here for the year, right? And we'll front load this thing like crazy, and we'll give you the incentives. You give me, another 20 yards per catch season, and you get to 60 catches, and listen, there's your 30 mil right there, right? But like, that's a big number, man.
30 million a year for a wide receiver.
That's a big number, dude. That's not a number one receiver. Like, now, if Jamar Chase was like, hey, I want to come to New England, like, yeah, bro, like roll out the red carpet, like, because that guy can do everything. But Alec Pierce hasn't been showcased in that light yet, right? Like, so if he's able to do it, great, then maybe he's worth the money. But I think that there's other areas of this team that would benefit from the cash that we have to spend in free agency.
The lacrosse guy I ran into at the Combine, Georgia tight end Oscar Delp, who I texted you about, and who really is like, if this was still a Bill Belichick coach team, he'd be drafted. Taken into Foxborough, man. Get this: his father played lacrosse at Rutgers.
Oh, okay.
And look, if his mom was a left-footed punter at Navy, then he would have been, that's the only other way that this would have been like a dream setup for Bill. And he's a guy who also said, I mentioned your name to him, and he had a flash of recognition and said, look, he's a guy who, I watched on YouTube growing up. I don't want to make you feel old, but he watched you highlights of you on YouTube. So there's another lacrosse possibility. The guy who I was most impressed with at the Combine, I had no expectation, talked to him, looked at his film, Jacob Rodriguez, a coverage linebacker from Texas Tech. a guy who would solve all sorts of problems on the defensive side of the ball when you're looking for a guy to run with tight ends and running backs out of the backfield. This is a team that really struggled with that over the course of the 2025 year. He mentioned Robert Spillane as his, one of his favorite linebackers. He's got a world-class, he's got a first-round mustache, one of my colleagues said, Bigfoot. He just really, for me, just looks like a Mike Vrabel guy. Just in his DNA, started as a walk-on, was a college quarterback initially at the University of Virginia before transferring, becoming a linebacker. He's a guy who, for me, would be one of those guys at the end of the second round. Obviously, a lot of this depends on what they do in free agency, but are you inclined to think that they're going to go, if they stick at 31, do you go offense or defense? Because I think if they stick at 31, there's a chance that they go offense, specifically offensive line, like you mentioned.
Well, that's fine. Yeah, if we're gonna go offensive line, great. But if it's anything else, if it's not that, then it's defense.
Yeah,
I would love for this team to add a safety to this team. That's like a dog, right? I would love for them to, add a coverage linebacker, or maybe it's a guy on the edge, right? That can kind of, now you got Milton in the middle, and now we get some guys on the outside that are just causing issues and problems. So, I always go back to the years that I was there, right? And the years where, the Devin McCourties and Dantes and, Kyle, like all those guys, right? Like we can go on and on about the list of defensive guys we had. Those defenses were good, man. Like they were good. They were smart. They were tough. They were a problem to deal with. And they were a reason why we were able to be so successful every single year, because of how well that they played year in and year out. Like, yes, they added some pieces. We added Steph, but like Christian's that guy, right? Carlton Davis is on the other side, right? Like you got some guys in the, like maybe we try to beef up our nickel player. We go out there and get a guy that's really wet that can come in and those packages and cover those inside receivers. Maybe that's a safety, right? That's able to come down into the box and be a guy that's able to cover tight ends and also cover wide receivers. So I think defensively, I think that there's probably, I don't know what the market like defensively across, but there's definitely some opportunities, I think, to improve an already very good defense, right? I think offensively, right, like you have Josh, like that's in and of itself is a win, right? You have Drake, right? We have some younger guys that are going to be able to continue, well, at least hopefully you continue to get better each year and take on more roles and responsibilities in that offense. So it's, to me, I think if you're going to spend your money, it's protecting him, and then also getting to the quarterback and trying to, be disruptive on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, I think that is a recipe to win football games and also play deep into the season.
Telling you, Jacob Rodriguez, go check him out. Pull him up on YouTube. Texas Tech finished 5th in the Heisman voting. Won every single, like the one, the Nagurski Award is just up and down. Just feels like a Bill Belichick type of guy. Last question I have for you.
Also, can we just talk about something real quick?
Yeah.
What is running a 4.4 and a 4.3 not that good anymore? Like, dude, I turned on, and I think I turned it on. The combine in and of itself just seemed kind of lame this year. It just seemed like nobody participates. Everyone's kind of picking and choosing what they're doing. No one, like, it's not what it used to be, right?
Everyone used to do everything.
Right. I think that we could have a whole nother podcast talking about that. But dude, I turned on this, and I'm talking about, like, I think I was watching it was defensive linemen and linebackers. I'm like, these jokers are running 4.3s at like 260 pounds. I'm like, what is going on? And they're jumping. They got 40-inch verticals, and their 3-cone drill is like just, I mean, it's insane what these kids coming out now, man. Like their speed and their strength is just wild. It is wild. Now, whether they're good football players or not, I don't know. But from a combine perspective, like it's got to be like just crazy to watch. Especially some of the dude. You watch some of these offensive linemen run their 40s. I was like, God dang! Like some of their 40 times like didn't like blow me away, but when you look at their 10-yard split, that shit was crazy. Like these dudes are getting off the line of scrimmage, and like you got a 300-pound guy that's running a 1.5-1.6 split for 10 yards. Be like, okay, cool. Like let me see that in football pads. Let me see that. Let me see that guy pull across the line of scrimmage and see what happens when he makes contact with somebody. I don't know. It was crazy to watch. I mean, the speed and strength of these guys coming out of college now is crazy to me. It really is.
Dude, my guy, there's one other guy I wanted to mention at the Combine, and I'm glad you bring up the big guys. But before we get into this last question, Dominique Orange, defensive tackle from Iowa State, who was on Bruce Feldman's freak list, just off the charts, strength, speed, power. His nickname is Big Citrus.
Love that.
He said his spirit animal is a hammerhead shark, and he wants to endorse cuties. You know the little oranges? He wants to endorse cuties when he gets to the NFL. I don't think the Patriots have an overwhelming need at defensive tackle, but I want to draft a guy just for these people. I want to walk into the locker room every day and cover a guy nicknamed Big Citrus. It'd be a dream.
With just the bags of cuties in his locker room.
The best. Take him to Chatham, talk about hammerhead sharks. Just it'd be fantastic all day. Just stories on him all year. That's all. The last thing I want to talk about, the NFLPA grades for the Patriots came out, and they improved in a number of areas. It's important to note: family care, locker room, weight room. I know last year we talked about that the weight room couldn't get much worse, so they did improve across the board. Weight room, training room. The thing that still stands out for me, they finished 26th out of 32 teams, by the way. That's up from 29th as a franchise last year. The thing, the report that still stands out for me is the friggin' plane.
Yeah.
It's still a thing. This is the quote from the report. Players want an upgraded team plane. The current plane is too small. There is no Wi-Fi available, and there are seats with ashtrays in the armrest. Players specifically responded that our plane is the worst thing, size, space, safety, and it is not conducive to preparedness for athletic performance. What you've been on the plane before. You know, and we've talked about this before. Tell me a little bit about what the plane is like and if that assessment in your eyes is spot on.
I mean, these kids are so soft. It's like, fuck. I mean, sure. Could the plane be better? All right, then Robert, like sell the plane and just charter some plane, big plane, and make sure everyone's happy and stop bitching about that they don't have first class seats. And like, who gives a shit that there's ashtrays in the seat? Like, I think that I am a minimalist person. When I got into the league, I shared seats with multiple players, staff members. Like, yes, was it nice when I got to the level of having my own seat? And I thought it was great when we first got it, like, to be honest with you. Like, there were these big seats, and I know it wasn't for like everyone, but like there's levels to this stuff. Like, you got starters get the first class seats, and then it goes down from there, and you got to earn your way up the pecking chart here to get to the big seats, right?
Would they be better off selling the plane, like you said, and just chartering, or is it a generational thing, or what?
I firmly believe that it's a generational thing, but that that's the last thing that I'll say about that, just so people don't get all their panties in a wad here. But like
these kids today, they don't know.
Dude, like, come on, bro. Like, you're literally on a plane for how many? Like, we're not traveling across the country every single week, right? Like, we're not. You're going to freaking Philly or you're going on the East Coast. It's not like do you need? You can be without Wi-Fi for 2 hours. I think that's okay. Watch some film. Rest, relax. I mean, like the Wi-Fi is ridiculous. Like even Spirit Airlines has Wi-Fi on their plane. So I guess. Listen, I think if you want to call it what it is, I mean, it's been bad for the last couple of years. So I think maybe so to not make it more of a thing of what it needs to be. It's like just get rid of the plane and charter a bigger plane, I guess, and make everyone happy. I don't know. I think that's such a stupid thing to be complaining about, but like you want to complain about real stuff in those grades. Like the food I was surprised about because I always thought that they did a really good job with the food. I did. Between the meals that they had, what they had available for breakfast, I was always pretty happy with all that kind of stuff. So I was a little bit surprised to see that. I think the weight room I'm not surprised about because that weight room is outdated and it's small and it doesn't fit an entire team. Like training room. I think that I don't know what they graded in a training room, but like again, like stuff, some of it's outdated a little bit. Like there could be room for improvement there but like we're building a new facility. Like so, like there's like that's all going to be improved because I'm sure all that stuff is going to be really good, right? Yeah. So I think that we'll see the end of that. I mean, I guess if the food, I would love to just like drop a suggestion box in the meal room and just see what guys want and then just give it to them. Like it's an easy fix. It's not like we're trying to reinvent the wheel here. If these guys are interested in other things and want maybe some more options, then just give it to them. Like that makes it. Listen, there are things where like, all right, we're gonna spend money on. There's things that we're not gonna spend money on. When it talks about your athletes, right, the guys that you are invested in, that you're paying a lot of money to play a game, nutrition and the performance stuff, like in the weight room and what you're providing them. And giving them, to increase that performance and be able to do it all year round. I think that carries a lot of weight, right? Like if someone tells me that nutritionally the food is not good, then I'm going to try to make the food better for my guys, right? So that they're not going out and have to do it themselves because that's just not realistic for a guy that wants to spend a lot of time in the facility. If the training room or the weight room needs to be better so that they can be excited about coming back to the off season and training in a great weight room and have all this stuff available to them, then yeah, like I would be adding those things to get guys to stay, be there and stay longer, right? I think that's the trend nowadays for some of these teams, right? Like go look at Buffalo's freaking facility. Like that thing is insane what they did, right? I'm sure a lot of guys are happy to stay in that facility for after hours when practice is over because they have all this stuff available to them. So I think the plane is a generational thing, but like we can nip that in the bud and just get rid of the damn plane or keep the plane and just keep it for you guys. Yeah, keep it for the staff. Maybe you're.
I would look, man. I travel. I'm a dedicated Delta guy. I wouldn't mind a charter.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure our echo footprint wouldn't be great, but like, it's only for how many weeks of the season are we actually using it? So it can't be that bad. Like, there's lots of people taking with worse footprints than the New England Patriots if we have to have two planes. So I'm sure. Listen, I'm sure Robert's going to be able to figure it out and make the necessary improvements in where he can. And you hate for that to ever be an issue. Why like a free agent's like I don't like it. Like food sucks. Like training room's brutal, or the plane. The 8 times that we have to get on the plane. Like I'm not going to it. Like that would be ridiculous to me for a guy to not want to come to a place, but like you'd hate for that to even be in the conversation. So hopefully they can, improve on that sort of thing.
Got one more question for you. Steph Diggs now becomes one of a handful of guys who are one and done in New England. A really interesting list, a handful of guys that you played with. Who is your favorite one and done teammate in your time in the National Football League?
One and done.
I'll give you a couple names.
Sure.
When you were in New England, Chris Long.
Yeah, he's all
Martellus
time.
Bennett was one in kind of 2 games. He came back the next year for a couple of games and went on IR. So we'll include him, for purposes of this. Previous to you, there was Ted Washington. There was there've been a handful of guys. Brandon Browner, Darrell Revis, were one and done guys in New England. Was there one guy? It doesn't have to be in New England, but in Buffalo, wherever else you were, that for 1 year you were his teammate. You were like, you know what? That dude was really great to play with for 1 year.
Kyle Orton. Orton was I played. Kyle came to Buffalo. I mean, this guy couldn't give two F's about anything. I mean, he was like, man, he liked me. That was like one of my better years. As a receiver, he was fun to be around. Didn't take things crazy seriously. But Kyle Orton Chris Long is definitely up there too. Chris was one of those guys that like he had been so successful, individually, right, his whole career. And like he came to New England, this dude just wanted to win. I mean, he wanted to win so bad. So I think that was also, and he was just fun, right? Like he wasn't just like, a defensive guy, right? Like he mixed it up with everyone. Like he was everyone loved him. New England loved him, and he was just a damn good football player and just like gave everything he had to that team and got a Super Bowl out of it. Like those guys, the one and done guys that you're around where you just can tell that they just want to win, right? And they're not a problem off the field. They're not a problem on the field. Everyone likes them in the locker room. Like there's lots of guys that come and go, but when you're around those guys, like you instantly gravitate towards them because you could just tell like they love the game of football. I mean, Chris just loved the game of football, man. I mean, it's in his blood, right? Like he's been around the game since he was born into this world, and you could just tell he just loved football. He loved competing and talking shit and wearing, getting Julian Edelman printed face masks so that he could keep it light sometime. Like those Chris was really good, man. Like the guys that like take their job professionally very, very serious, but also they're not assholes, right? They're not like you want to go get a beer with them, right? You want to go out to dinner with them or just hang out off the field just because like they're just cool people, right? And Chris was for sure one of those guys. He was great.
The Julian Edelman mask always kind of freaked me out a little bit.
Yeah, me too.
It was a little disarming. I got to be honest. And you can Google it if people are listening, watching this. You can Google Chris Long Julian Edelman mask. He would wear the Julian Edelman mask in the locker room.
The interviews
so lifelike. It was a little bit off.
In the Kent State yellow T-shirt
Chris Hogan, as always, my friend, thank you very, very much for your time. Take care, and we will talk again next week at the start of free agency. Very exciting.
Can't wait.